Alright. Hey guys. The name's Zobat, and I don't do much of many videos on YouTube. I always go through these moments of wanting to start a YouTube channel, not starting a YouTube channel, and now I've come to this point right now where I am presenting you this video. Now, this video is specifically going to be about Dissidia, and Dissidia, the open beta. So mind you, take this with a grain of salt, and also take this with a heap of criticism for those who have played the open beta. But this is going to be about the Dissidia open beta and the state of Dissidia NT. And the first thing I want to mention is that, for those of you who don't know, the Dissidia NT beta came out, I think it was the 12th of January, and it is lasting until the 21st of January. So those are the dates for when you guys can play it. You can play on the PS4 if you guys do so choose to play it. Now, man, this is really hard to make because, first of all, I have played Dissidia on the PSP and Dissidia Duodecim, both on the PSP, and I have clocked in, I think I want to say at least like 600 or 700 hours on the game. And it was, for me at least, arguably one of the best PSP games that I've ever played. It's consumed my like entire, 2011 I think it came out, and 2007 I think is when the original came out. But either way, I played the game immensely, and I played it with my friends, doing the PvPs and doing all like the random battles and a lot of the AP grinding and all the RPG elements. Like, I really do believe that Dissidia Duodecim were ahead of this time in terms of RPG mechanics combined with fighting games. Like, honestly, the epitome. And playing the recent travesty that is the open beta of NT has been more than disheartening for someone like me, especially someone who's enjoyed Dissidia, the series, so much. But here's what I'm gonna go off on. The first thing that I want to mention about the open beta is that, while I do say, again, take this with a grain of salt, the open beta is not in any way, shape, or form a final representation of the game. Now, mind you, I do want to preface this with saying that most of the open betas that come out of the gaming industry that has recently happened mostly represent the finalized version of the game. Open betas are kind of a way to, how do you say this, bullshit your way into making a demo a week or two before. Like, a beta is not supposed to be a week or two before, but that's besides the point. While this might not be a final representation, the game doesn't bode well at all for me. And I'm gonna just go off on some opinions and stuff that I think are not really good about the open beta. First of all, the systems itself, like the actual UI, looks like nice. The graphics are great. I will say like off the bat, like the graphics look amazing, especially for a Dissidia game. This is what I've been waiting for like years since it's been on the PSP. But in terms of the UI itself, the UI isn't really that functional, right? When you go into the menu is simply just like 6 like statue-looking like menu buttons, right? The story mode is you scroll over to a button that says story mode, or a little statue that goes story mode, and you scroll over online, all these other things, whatever. Now, mind you, do I think that having just like that simple menu like a bad thing? It's not horrible, no. But I think the other things that make it annoying is that a lot of the functionality is really missing. When you go to the menus, the option menus, there's no way to really remap your buttons, so you kind of end up in a situation where the original PSP version allows you to press X for jump, and you can't even press X for jump. So a lot of the people who played Dissidia, the original one, are used to pressing X to jump, and they can't because the game doesn't allow them to do that. Now, it's a small gripe, but for those who have played Dissidia for like all of their life, understand that like when you are going from the X button to the circle button, it's very easy. And from the X button to the square button is really easy, especially since you're jumping most of the time in the game. Why would you create a situation where the jump button's on circle, right? And then your bravery attacks on X and square. Now, I know that most people don't understand the ergonomics of remote controls, but the reason why the X button is designated as essentially an all-action button is mostly because it's easy to get to the other buttons, especially square and circle, the easiest. You're jumping most of the time, you're reloading, you're jumping, you're doing an action or something. X is usually designated for jump and action adventure games, because if you play Devil May Cry or anything like that, X is jump, and then everything else is light attack or heavy attack, or however the way the games work. There's a reason why X is ergonomically on the X button and not on the circle button. We've gotten past the era where circle is a functional button. I mean, some people it might work for, no doubt. I'm not saying it's not, but that's just a gripe of mine, right? The beta doesn't allow you to really see any of the combos, which was present in the original Dissidia 2. So you're kind of going into all these characters blind. So for people who have not played and people who have played, there's no way in like any universe to even test out who you want to play as. You have to go into an online match or go on to a tutorial match and then play from there, which both are not conducive to proper gaming environment no matter what. And it's not available in the beta, but I think it should have been, at least for people who are trying to be on the fence trying to buy the game. Now that's a lot of like UI talk and all this other stuff, but before I get into the actual gameplay, I have to say the game is peer-to-peer. And while it's not awful, and by awful I mean it isn't that prevalent, it has shown up at least 4 or 5 out of the 30 games that I've played, and 4 or 5 out of 30 games is like what, 20% or something like that. So 20% of the time I'm getting lag issues in a game that's a fighting game, and I'm sorry, that's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. No fighting game in any universe, even if it's a pseudo fighting game such as Dissidia or a fighting game, if anybody knows For Honor was a game that legitimately had peer-to-peer connection, and look how that went, right? Ubisoft decided to come out with some bullshit like, oh, we have a great peer-to-peer system and this works well, and it's like, come on, dude, don't bullshit me, okay? Your peer-to-peer system isn't as strong of a connection compared to a server, which would really be important. And I say the same thing to Square Enix, why they wouldn't, for any way, shape, or form, allow a 3v3 game, okay, to have a server. Why wouldn't they allow that to happen? Why wouldn't they? It doesn't make any sense. Because 1v1 makes sense, right? In a 1v1 environment, it's just you and the other person. You're not really handling as many packets between everybody, right? You don't have to handle too many actions between 6 different players. But when you're dealing with 3 players on one side and 3 players on the other side doing vastly different things with vastly different characters and vastly different effects, how would you not want to make the system as smooth as possible for everybody? And the games that I've had legitimate connection problems, it has been awful. Like, legitimately awful. And that's it. Like, I'm sorry to say this, for any company that has money in the billions of dollars should be able to afford a server that works in some type of functional manner. Okay? So functionally, it's a peer-to-peer game. You're gonna get annoyed if you have connection problems. Even if you yourself find connection problems, you might end up in games where the connection is going to be horrendous, and it will be. Okay? Alright. Okay, that goes off on my UI problems and stuff like that. Now, I want to get into the game. Now, I really like to preface this because it is open beta. It's not the final game. It's not the final version, right? But it's so hard for me personally, to even justify open betas, because they're so close to the final version of the game that this is the game they're going to give you. This is the game they're legitimately giving you, is what I believe, honestly. Like, there's really nothing they're going to change except some, like, minor things or whatever. But that's besides the point. The gameplay is awful. Like, legitimately awful. The 3v3 system should never have been a thing in Dissidia. like never have been a thing. Man, where do I even start, right? Every character has bravery attacks and HP attacks. I'm not going into it. I'm assuming that most people who are watching this at least have some semblance of an idea as to what Dissidia like functionally does, right? Because it's just a rant video, but I will say, look, when you're in a 3v3 environment, it's impossible to even gauge anything that's happening, all right? The game has problems from the camera work. The camera is just absolutely like it's really bad, okay? You have full control of the camera, which means that it actually makes it really, really hard to see enemies that are legitimately right above you. And I'm gonna include gameplay of everything over this this ramp video, but when enemies are right on top of you, like right above you, your camera does not adjust to who you're locked onto. So legitimately, you see them pass you, and then you have to look at your radar, right? Which is this giant radar on the top right hand side of the game, right? And then not only does it not like move over, right? It doesn't like your camera does not move over to that person or whatever. The actual wide field of view is like there's no field of view whatsoever. So you're essentially bound to get hit by anything and anyone that is around the area without even any chance to outplay them, right? The original Dissidia games, and I'm gonna include the gameplay, a small clip of it, in what I'm talking about right now. But the original game that was Dissidia and Duodecim required a lot of nuance, and it was spacing, it was dodging, it was dashing, right? It was all of these mixed mechanics all put together, along with bravery attacks and HP attacks, and bravery to HP attack combos and bravery attack combos, and it was really, really good because you were utilizing everything, right? You were utilizing all these things, and you were fixed on this one character, and your moves and your character face that direction in order to fight that enemy, which is another problem, that like certain HP attacks and certain bravery attacks do not force your character to turn to who you're locked onto. It kind of just swings in one direction. So when you're playing Sephiroth or Cloud or Squall or whatever, you can, because those attacks don't home in on an opponent, they just kind of just fly through them or fly by them. You easily get countered attack, and it doesn't even feel like it was actually a fight. It just felt like they just ran around and dashed. So the camera is just really, really bad. The UI is full of shit that is unnecessary. But I was 15 games in or something like that before I realized that there was a radar on the top right hand corner, and maybe 20 games in before I realized that I was getting all of the information from all of my other teammates on my screen for like no reason. Like it doesn't make any sense why the UI looks like that. Let's go into another problem. The summons, the summoning system, and the dashing, right? And this doesn't sound like it correlates, but let me try to like level with you. Okay. Dashing in this game is horrible. In the original Dissidia, you would dash really quickly at first, and then it slows down to like a crawl, right? It was like really, really fast, and sometimes you could cancel dash, right? And you could just dash, cancel, move, or dash dodge or something like that. You can do those mechanics. In this game, your dash moves you away from the enemy, but the dash is horrendously slow. It is so slow, it makes the game slow down to a crawl, and everything feels like it's slow because of the dashing. The dashing is slow, and it lasts forever, and it turns into games, especially at my tier of level, which is I think Bronze D or Silver E. It makes dashing feel like it just makes movement feel so it's just unimportant. And because people can dash away from all your attacks and HP attacks and all your bravery attacks, it's useless to even do anything. None of the range goes far enough to hit somebody. You have to close in on them, and then you have to try and do a bravery attack, and then they just dash away from you. And it's a game of just chasing more than it is fighting. The dashing it makes the system encourage people to dash as far away from a fight as possible, right? And then force someone to come to you rather than fight the actual person. And not only that, even if you decide not to chase the person, it encourages you to turn onto another person, and now all of a sudden it's a 2v1, right? And that's not fun, because then you're getting destroyed by 2 other people and you can't do anything. So the dashing just makes the game absolutely awful, and that goes in together with summoning, right? You can dash away, right, as far away as you can, and because your dash is slow and there's not different dash speeds for everybody dashes at the same speed, you can sit there and in front of an enemy and try to dash at him to stop him from summoning, and you can't. You just can't. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense why that's a thing. It doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't be a thing, and it is. You can't catch them. That makes no sense. Alright? And not only like do those things like drive me crazy, the summoning is obnoxious. It shows up every time. It looks cool, but it can get annoying very, very quickly, to the point where it's impossible to really even play, especially when you have lag. The homing attacks of enemies is probably the strongest thing in the game. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but any type of attack that is a homing attack, at least in my opinion, is super strong. Like, just the simple fact that like ranged attacks or homing attacks are like if there's ever an esports for this, which I hope there's not, but if there was ever, picking characters with homing attacks is probably the strongest thing you can do. It feels useless to pick any type of close ranged assassin character or whatever, like Squall or a Vanguard, like Cloud, right? Because what's the point? You're fighting 3 other people. You need to kind of pick heroes that can defend and then attack, which is like Warrior of Light, or defend and attack like Scintilla from Sephiroth. You know what I mean? It really doesn't make any sense. Why would you pick anything else? It's no need to. You just pick homing attacks or really close range HP attacks, and because you can't change up your HP attacks either, mind you, surprise, you can't do it, like, you're stuck getting fucked all over and over and over again. And I can go on and on about the entire game, but this game isn't good. It just isn't good. It's sad. It's really sad. I've played Dissidia for so long, and I've played the open beta, and I get more and more frustrated. I can't play it. Like, the game feels like it's hindering you. You feel like you're not in control of your character. If anybody plays the game and you realize something, if something very simple, but every time you get hit with 2 combos of a bravery attack, so you get hit with one combo, get knocked into a wall, and then get hit with another combo, you get invincibility frames where you don't move, and it's long. It's long as fuck. It's the same thing when you get hit with an HP attack. If you get hit with an HP attack, for some reason, your HP attack causes your character to get hit, and then you just can't move, like, at all. Who designed this? When you're playing Dissidia or on the PSP, you're playing Duodecim on the PSP, you get hit with an HP attack, you're ready to go. You're up seconds. That's it. It's like 13 seconds or 15 seconds before you can do something. And then you have to dash slow as hell to somebody and try to fight them. What's the point? Why are there 3 characters in the map? It's not fun. I'm sorry, it's not fun. And I'm saying this as someone who loves playing Dissidia, who's loved playing the Final Fantasy games, have played a large majority of them, and I can't justify this game being good. I can't justify anything about this game I can't justify anybody purchasing this, especially for those who have played Dissidia and Dissidia Duodecim previously. It is not a good purchase, and I just wish this game was better. I heard that there's a 1v1 mode in the game, so maybe that's the justice that it'll be served. But I look at gameplay from Duodecim and I look at gameplay for NT, and it's like two different games. And look, I've looked up gameplay video of NT, and maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm playing wrong. But the way it looks from my perspective, and the videos that I have seen of like quote unquote pro plays of NT, even pro plays, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. There's like light explosions everywhere. I don't know who's what because there's fucking effects everywhere. You compare that to the original Duodecim, and I knew exactly what was happening, even as fast-paced as it was. You can look at pro plays from any of the videos. I'll include them in the description. I'll include them in the actual like video that I'm doing now. But for fuck's sakes, I could follow Duodecim, and that game was just dodging, dashing, and just doing all these crazy things that you would think that nobody else could do. But I could follow it. But I can't see a goddamn thing on NT. I'm sorry. This game is good, and I didn't want to go on for 21 minutes talking about it, but I can't justify it. This game is a slap in the face to anybody that's played Dissidia. Look, thanks for hanging out. Look, thanks for listening to my rant. I'm gonna post everything down in the description below. I'm not gonna edit this because I don't really have the time to edit all this stuff, but I'm gonna post up with this and gameplay, and I'll make sure to have marks where everything is so that people can go check out do your own research, play your own versions of it, you know, do your own thing. Thank you so much for listening to me rant and like breathe hella hard, breathe away from the mic. If you want to follow me for whatever else you want, subscribe, whatever. I'm just trying to just rant it out, but thanks for listening. Alright guys, peace.